most memorable Phife moment for me is really about my mindset in regards to Phife leading into the tour. Like, you know, Phife, I love Tribe's records, but I never really viewed Phife really as a lyricist more. You know, I kind of was like, he's more stylistic, you know what I mean? Even though he kind of stepped it up on Low End Theory, I still kind of had a perception of him as not necessarily a truly lyrical dude. And at that time, Souls and Hyro, Cats was on like, you know, we the best and we're the lyrical kings and you got to be able to freestyle and do all this or else, you know what I mean? And so, you know, there was peers that people, you know, we would put on that level, but Phife certainly wasn't one of them that would come to my mind, you know? And so we get on the tour with them and we would go to the after parties, right? And of course they would rip during the show, but that's the songs, you know what I mean? They would shut it down at the show, you know what I mean? But they were doing like, you know, songs that everyone knew. And he would rip, you know, but we would go to the after parties and cats would get on the mic and whatever and bust. And then I realized every night he'd go and he would rip it there, like get the big crowd response. Some of the guys from Souls would be on there and they would be like lyrically killing it, but you know, the crowd would be like, okay, you know what I mean? It wouldn't be, but he was tearing it down at these after parties way more than us, you know what I mean? And you know, he was freestyling, he was doing all kinds of stuff. And then that was a time when I was really like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? Like, he can do his thing. Like, it isn't just, you know, he's got dope beats and he's, you know, on incredible records, but he really is an MC and he can really kill it when he wants to, you know what I mean? And I think I had a newfound respect for him because of that, because, again, we were on some like, yo, we the best lyrical shit, and every party he was ripping it more than us because he just had the memorable lines. You know, he'd end his 4 bars with something memorable that would make people go, oh, you know, and that gave me a little perspective on like, as far as the response is, that's just as important as if you say something that's quote unquote lyrical or fancy or abstract. You know, it takes more than that to really be an MC, and I learned that he was certainly one on that tour. For me, my memorable Phife verse, I mean, there's 2. There's Bugging Out, of course, but the one that I always think about is Butter, where he's talking about all the guys are corny, but the girls are mad fly. You know, coolin', what was it? Rounds with the tipster, coolin' with shy. You scoping out the honeys, you know who they are. I was a B-boy playing. That verse it was so stylistically clean, and he just hit the topic and just talking about really how fly he was. That's kind of one of my favorite Phife verses. I mean, the thing about Phife though is I realized, and you know, maybe I didn't realize it because I didn't think of it until he died, but he has so many memorable lines. You know what I mean? Like the memorable punchlines that everyone remembers. Like, you know what I mean? And I bet, and I would bet leading up to his death, majority of people, when you ask them who's the better rapper between him and Tip, I'd probably say 9 out of 10 would probably have said Q-Tip. But ultimately, I would ask anyone to point out 10 memorable Tip lines and 10 memorable Phife lines, and I would guarantee you that people would easily come with the Phife lines. You know, bust a nut inside your eye and tell you where you come from. I don't know why I keep getting led to the sex ones, but you know, here's something about bust a nut on your couch and now you got Siemens furniture. He has so many memorable lines, and his legacy is set, you know what I mean? Like I think allowed people to focus on how great he was as an MC after he passed. I think a lot of people probably took that for granted, but with all the outpouring and people focusing on specific things that he had done in his career, I think it was I know all the Tribe records, and it was eye-opening to me.
Because of a lack of history, understanding of history, they find themselves repeating steps that have already been taken when all they have to do was pivot from what Dr. King already did.
Any obstacle or any form of adversity is gonna make you a better person when you come out of it on the other side. You're not gonna wanna hear that at the front of it.
Everybody should always aspire to be the person that they're not and do what it takes to become that person.
I had a bow on the bus, basically, like a long stick, basically a bow. So I just grabbed it and just started blah, blah, blah. at the little, you know, the controller for the air conditioning. And the only thing that made me stop was the bus driver was like in shock. He was like, no, what are you doing? Stop.